Okay, so we could not have asked for a better day to brew our Session IPA in our first day with our new Brewzilla vessel. So we're currently in the boiling stage, but this video is going to start. We're going to go back to the very beginning this morning when I programmed the Brewzilla to bring it up to temperature. And yeah, we're going to see how it goes. So this was a Session IPA of my design with Derek's input. He had some great suggestions about the hops, and we changed some things up there. It's a pretty standard grain bill, just under 5 kilograms. We've got some Maris Otter, we have some Vienna, we have some Munich. There's also some oats in there to give it a nice body, and then as well as some rice hulls to make sure that we didn't have any issues with circulation, just for some filtering. So it's a pretty standard grain bill, and we've got some great hops. We've got some locally grown Cascade, we've got some Simcoe, and some Amarillo. So we are trying out a brand new Session IPA recipe today in our brand new Brewzilla, and we're really hoping that not only do we get a great beer out of today, but we're hoping to get some valuable information that we can use for our customers, both current and future, that use these all-in-one systems. So we can help them design recipes, we can have a better idea what kind of crush we should be using on our mill, and just general tips about these great all-in-one designs. So stay tuned. The video is going to start right now, and we're going to break it down right from about 6 o'clock this morning when we started programming right through to the boil. So cheers. All right, good morning, everybody. Christian here from the Community Brew Shop. It is very early in the morning for our inaugural brew day for the new Brewzilla that we got to kind of understand a little bit more about all-in-one systems and better serve our customers that use those systems. So I got up pretty early this morning. I cleaned and sanitized the vessel because this is the first time we're going to be using it. I wanted to make sure there were no machine oils or dust or particles from the factory in there, so I washed it and then flushed it out and then sanitized it and then flushed it out just to make sure, you know, that's a little bit overkill, but we wanted to make sure that everything was spick and span, clean and tidy, and we're ready to go for the day. So it's a little bit of a fall-like day in here today, out here today. It's a little early for that, I think, but the temperature's down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the automatic functions on the device to bring the water up to a warm temperature, and then I'm going to use it to bring it up to what will be our mash-in temperature on a separate timer. So you can have up to 6 stages on this device, so I'm going to be using the first 2. The reason I'm doing that is to see how efficient I can make my brew day, not as far as efficiency of the brew, but as far as efficiency as time goes. So I'm going to set it to warm up over the next probably 2 hours, and then I'm going to set it for a timer to bring it up to our mash-in temperature. And the reason I'm going to do this is because this way the water can heat safely in the vessel while I go about my morning routine. So I'm going to go to the gym, I have a delivery to make for the store, so while I'm doing those regular Saturday activities, the water will be heating up, and then when I get home, I should be just, if I time it right, this is the first time, so we'll see what happens, but if I time it right, I should be just a few degrees off my mash-in temperature, and then I can outfit the mash pipe, put it in, dunk it, let the temperature come up because there will be a little bit of a temperature difference when I put the pipe in, and then I should be able to start mashing in, you know, just maybe 20 minutes, half hour after I get home. And I'm hoping that that will lead to more efficiency in my brew day. And I'm busy, I have kids, you know, a job, the store. So one of the advantages I'm hoping of having this system is that I will be able to cut my brew day times down. And I'm really looking forward to see if I can do that. So we'll get started. Cheers. Okay, so we are at our mash-in temperature now. So I've added the grain buckets as well as the bottom screen and this little cap right here that keeps the grain from going down the overflow pipe once we mash in. So we're going to mash in now, and once we get our temperature stabilized, and we'll be good to go. Yeah. Okay. So we took some advice from some customer of ours from Quebec that use a similar system, and they often add some rice hulls to their grain bill, just a little bit, just to help with the filtering process. So we took their advice and we put a few into this grain bill today. So looking, hopefully don't have any issues, but I mean that's the point of this test brew today, to kind of learn about the system and how we can better serve the customers that have them. So looks pretty good right now. It's not too wet, not too thick either. So I think we might have dialed it in pretty good for our first time. We'll see here in a minute. So Derek's just finishing kind of mixing up our mash right now. It's a little thick, but you know, once we've got it moved around a little bit, and we did circulate the pump through there for a few seconds, so it's starting to look pretty good. So maybe another liter or two of water next time. We actually did 20 liters of water for this mash, and we're just under 5 kilograms of grain and the rice hull. So a little thick, maybe a little bit more next time, but for our first go, I think I'm pretty happy with it. All right, so our mash is in and the pump is on, so we're circulating and we're holding, we're at 67 right now. We've got it set for 68. So we're gonna leave it here for an hour, and then we're gonna do our sparge. So everything's looking pretty good so far in there. We got a good flow, not too much, and we'll keep at it. Okay, so we're about 30 minutes into our mash time now, and things are going pretty well. We have the pump recirculating, the top screen is on. We're in 30 minutes now, so we're starting to see some clarity, and getting pretty sticky in there right now. We did have a little bit of a circulation issue at the start. We may not have stirred the mash quite enough before we put the top screen on. So something to learn there. We'll make sure we get a little bit better flow, and maybe make sure that we get it recirculating before we put the top screen on. Because once the screen on, it's tough to take it out just for the sake of giving it a quick stir and everything. So, but we got a good balance going there now, and we're going to let the recirculation pump do its work. We got about 30 minutes left in the mash, and then we'll make sure that we give it a good stir before we lift the malt pipe out and start our sparge. Okay, so we just hit our 60-minute time domain on the mash, so now we're doing a 10-minute mash out at just under 76 degrees. As you can see, the wort's running pretty clear right now, so the recirculation is working well. And like I said, after a little bit of just kind of playing around with getting it dialed in at the start, things are looking pretty good now. So yeah, so far, I think we're in good shape. All right, so we have finished our initial 60-minute mash, and then as well as the 10-minute step mash. So I have the lid taken off, the recirculation arm, and the overflow cap also been taken out. So now we're going to put the arm in. Just go in like that. And then we're going to lift this out so that it can drip before our sparge. So we'll see how heavy it is. All right, success. Okay, so as you can see, the sun has come back out, so that must be a good sign. So now it's time to sparge. So as you can see, we've lifted the malt pipe out and set it in the on the little feet here on the side, so it's stable. Top screen is still in, and we've pretty much dripped everything out. So I don't have a setup quite yet where ideally I want to build a shelf, so that I have kind of a level here where I can put a pot and kind of easily sparge into, but we're going to go on a real manual system today. So I've got my water, my sparge water heated up to just above the temperature, and we're simply going to slowly pour it over. And it's about 12 liters on the sparge to bring us back up to 27 liters, which is what we want to start our boil at. So let's get started. Try to spread it around as best I can, keep a slow flow.
So ideally, this should highlight the fact that if you do have a system like this, or if you're thinking about investing in a system like this, you can use it without a lot of extra equipment. So, like I said, ideally there's a setup that I'd like to build to really kind of, bring the efficiency and the quality of this up. But if you're just getting started, or if you're just getting started with a system like this, literally just, the Brewzilla and then some hot water from your stove seems to be working just fine. So. Starting to drip pretty good there now. At the bottom of the pipe, I can hear it going. So while we continue to sparge, I've reset the temperature on the Brewzilla down below to bring it up to our boil temperature. So there's enough liquid in the vessel that we don't have to wait until we're completely done. We can start raising the temperature now, which means we'll get to our boil quicker, and then we can add our hops and continue on with our brew day. Okay, so we are now up to temperature on the Brewzilla. Wasn't really quite sure what to expect, how long it would take to get up to a boil. It did take quite a bit longer than I had expected, but again, I did add some cooler water to bring it up to the volume that I was looking for, and the wind is really picked up here at the 1st of September. It's, that time of year for that. So the sun's back out now, so we're going to add our first addition of hops. So as this is a Session IPA, I'm looking to get a hop-forward flavor, but keep the ABV low. So what we're doing is we're adding a healthy helping of locally grown Cascade hops from one of our suppliers in Bloomfield, New Brunswick, at the 60-minute. And then we're going to add a much smaller addition of Simcoe at 5 minutes, and then another addition, a small addition of Simcoe at 0 minutes. We're going to try something a little bit different. So I like to dry hop the IPAs I make. I bottled an IPA that we dry hopped just the other day, an East Coast IPA, and then Derek also has a West Coast IPA fermenting right now, which he's also planning on dry hopping. So I came across a really interesting article on beerandbrewing.com, so shout out to them. It's a great resource for home brewers and craft brewers, that they had mentioned that using a small hop addition of Amarillo or a similar hop variety in your whirlpool, but at a lower temperature, can help reduce resin flavors in lower ABV IPAs. And since that's what we're going for today, and I've never tried this method before, we're going to give it a try. So I'll be sure to do a part 2 follow-up video of this brew day video, where we talk about the tasting and how the beer poured and everything else, and I'll be sure to give specific feedback on this method. So we've got Cascade. We've got 2 small additions of Simcoe right very near the end, and then we're going to have a lower temperature, about 82 degrees Celsius, addition of Amarillo hops for 15 minutes, and then we'll move on to our cooling. So should be an interesting time. So because the wind is up, I'm going to leave the lid on, but we'll just kind of tuck it up and put these in. So 60-minute boil starting now. So our initial Cascade edition and our 5-minute Simcoe edition are in. We're just at the 60 minutes now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my 0-minute Simcoe edition, and I'm going to reduce the temperature on the device to 82 degrees Celsius, which we will add our Amarillo in for 15 minutes, again, to try and reduce those resin flavors that may come out in a lower ABV Session IPA. So we're going to add these in, and then reduce the temperature and see how it goes. Okay, so I removed the neoprene jacket, turned the elements off, and remove the lid, but I did keep the circulation pump going, and even though I did not use a hop spider, we're still getting plenty of flow. We have no issues with the pump. It's not a particularly heavy or hop forward, there's not a lot of hops in this particular beer, but it was nice to know that the pump can keep up with a normal pale ale or a lighter IPA, something like that. So that was great, although I will probably invest in a hop spider for the shop coming up soon. So we're just about down to 82 degrees Celsius. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the Amarillo hops. And again, this is to try and reduce the potential resin flavors in the beer, as it is a lower ABV IPA, and I will not be dry hopping it. So we're going to try this method and see how it works. So we're at 82 degrees now. I'm going to add the Amarillo hops. I'm going to turn the 500-watt element on to hold this temperature for 10 minutes, and then we will start the cooling process as usual. All right. Hops are in. Element is on. So we are just about down to temperature. You can see that I am filling my fermentation carboy behind me there. So I'm using the built-in pump with the Brewzilla to do this. You can see it goes at a pretty good clip there, and I'm looking forward to just getting it down a little bit lower temperature before I pitch the yeast. So for this particular brew, I am using a Escarpment Labs product, the Vermont Ale yeast. It's a great product for New England IPAs, hoppy beers, as well as some traditional English ales that are a little bit higher on the ABV side. It has a recommended fermentation temperature in the high teens, low 20s, so where it's still early September here on the East Coast, that should work out fine. It'll ferment fine in my little nook that I have it in the house without too much babysitting. So I'm looking for a pretty aggressive fermentation. I started a starter last night and it's been roaring all day. It's been on for about 24 hours now. So I think that should take off pretty quickly later on this evening when I pitch. And overall, it was a pretty successful brew day. So keep an eye out. I will have a part 2 of this video in about 2 weeks when I get everything bottled and bottle conditioned and ready to go. And at that time, I'll do a recipe breakdown. We'll talk about the hops that were used, see if the lower temperature addition of the Amarillo reduced the resin, to see how that goes. And we'll also talk about the starting gravity, final gravity, and what the efficiency worked out to be in the Brewzilla. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Check us out at the Community Brew Shop, or pardon me, communitybrewshop.ca. There you can find links to all the products that I used today and talked about, and we ship nationwide across Canada. And you're welcome to reach out to us for advice, information, recipes. We're here for the community. We're here to help. Communitybrewshop.ca. Thanks for watching, everybody. Cheers.